It's late. The house is quiet. You're sitting at your kitchen table with a laptop open, a half finished cup of coffee beside you, and a number glowing on the screen that doesn't feel real. $500,000. You scroll through photos of the house again, the wide windows, the clean kitchen, the kind of backyard you imagine your kids running through, or maybe the kind of patio where you'd finally host those summer dinners you always talk about. It doesn't look extravagant, it looks normal, like something a regular person should be able to afford. And yet your chest feels tight. You open a mortgage calculator, you type in the numbers, you erase them, you change the down payment, you stretch the loan to 30 years, then 40. You lower the interest rate in your head because maybe it'll come down next year, maybe you'll get a raise, maybe you're overthinking it. Then the monthly payment pops up. And it's bigger than you expected. You sit back in your chair, you make good money, you work hard, you did what you were told to do. So, why does something that looks so average feel so far away? Who can actually afford this? And more importantly, can you? Because in 2026, the math is brutal, not dramatic, not emotional, just brutal. Here's the uncomfortable truth no one wants to say out loud. A $500,000 house in 2026 is not a middle class purchase. It looks like one, it feels like one, it's marketed like one. But financially, it's a different category entirely. For years, you were told that home ownership is the cornerstone of adulthood. That if you work hard, get educated, build your career, and avoid bad debt, you'll naturally graduate into a safe home, a comfortable home. And in 2005, maybe that was true. But in 2026, prices are higher. Interest rates are higher. Property taxes are higher. Insurance is higher. Everything stacked on top of that monthly payment has quietly grown, and the culture hasn't adjusted. You still see friends posting keys on Instagram. You still hear coworkers talking about upgrades. You still drive through neighborhoods filled with houses that look just like the one on your screen. So your brain makes an assumption. If they can afford it, I should be able to. But what if most people can't? What if the people buying $500,000 homes are stretching further than you think? What if they're carrying stress you can't see? What if the real affordability line is much higher than the story you've been sold? And what if the number that actually qualifies someone to safely afford that house would shock you? We'll get there. But first, you have to understand why this question feels so confusing in the first place. Money is never just math, it's identity, it's status, it's belonging. When you picture yourself in a $500,000 home, you're not just picturing square footage, you're picturing who you become. Responsible, established, successful, someone who made it. Your brain doesn't calculate amortization schedules, it calculates social signals. You compare constantly. Your neighbor upgraded. Your coworker bought new construction. Your old classmate posted a closing photo with the caption, "Hard work pays off." And you feel a quiet pressure, not because you're greedy, but because you're human. There's something called social proof. If enough people around you appear to be doing something, your brain interprets it as normal, safe, achievable, even if it isn't. There's also something deeper at play: loss aversion, the fear of missing out on appreciation, the fear that if you don't buy now, you'll be locked out forever, that prices will keep rising, that rent is throwing money away, that you'll regret waiting. So you justify, you stretch the budget, you assume future raises, you discount maintenance costs, you tell yourself, we'll figure it out. Dopamine kicks in at the thought of keys in your hand. Regret feels abstract. Payment due dates feel far away. But here's the part no one posts. The sleepless nights when the roof leaks, the anxiety when insurance premiums jump, the feeling when property taxes rise and you realize your fixed payment isn't actually fixed. The psychology of home ownership is powerful, and powerful emotions make math feel smaller than it is. Now, zoom out. This isn't just about you making a decision, it's about the system shaping the decision. Banks don't qualify you based on comfort, they qualify you based on risk tolerance, their risk, not yours. When a lender says you're approved for a $500,000 mortgage, they're not saying it's financially wise. They're saying statistically you're unlikely to default based on their models. There's a difference. In 2026, interest rates aren't near zero anymore. They've normalized at levels your parents didn't experience for most of the 2010s. A 6.5 to 7.5% mortgage rate changes everything. It quietly doubles the cost of borrowing compared to the ultra low era. Inflation has lifted asset prices. Wages haven't kept pace evenly. Corporate structures reward top earners disproportionately while the middle feels squeezed. At the same time, consumer culture pushes bigger homes, open floor plans, luxury finishes, and starter homes that start at $500,000 in many metro areas. You're navigating a credit based system designed to make large purchases feel manageable through monthly payments, not total cost. The monthly payment is the illusion, the total cost is the reality. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. So let's talk about the math. A $500,000 house in 2026. Let's assume you put 10% down. That's $50,000 upfront, not including closing costs, which could easily add another $10,000 to $15,000. So you're financing $450,000. At a 7% interest rate on a 30-year loan, your principal and interest payment alone is roughly $2,995 per month. That's before property taxes. If property taxes are 1.2% annually, that's $6,000 per year or $500 per month. Now you're at $3,495. Home insurance, let's estimate $150 per month. You're at $3,645. Maintenance, a conservative rule of thumb is 1% of home value per year. That's $5,000 annually, about $417 per month set aside. Now you're effectively at $4,062 per month. And that's assuming nothing major breaks. So roughly $4,000 per month. That's $48,000 per year after tax just to carry the home. Let that sit for a moment. To comfortably afford that, most financial planners recommend that housing costs stay under 28% of gross income. Some say 30%. Let's use 30 for simplicity. If $48,000 is 30% of your gross income, you'd need to earn about $160,000 per year. Gross, not take home. Now, factor in taxes, retirement contributions, healthcare, car payments, childcare, groceries, utilities, travel, saving for emergencies. At $160,000, your take home might be closer to $110,000, depending on your state and deductions. Housing eats nearly half of that. Can you technically make it work on less? Yes. Banks might approve you at a higher debt to income ratio, maybe 36%, maybe more. But affordable isn't the same as approved. This is where the brutality sets in. In many parts of the country, median household income is nowhere near $160,000. It might be $70,000 or $80,000 or $90,000. At $90,000 gross income, your safe housing budget at 30% is $27,000 per year or about $2,250 per month. That doesn't buy a $500,000 home in 2026. It buys something very different. Now, here's the part most people ignore: opportunity cost. If instead of putting $50,000 down and committing to $4,000 per month, you invested that difference, what happens? Imagine you rent for $2,500 per month instead. That's $1,500 less per month than the total home cost we calculated. If you invested that $1,500 per month into a diversified index fund earning an average 7% annually over 30 years, you'd accumulate roughly $1.7 million just from the monthly difference. Add the $50,000 down payment invested upfront at 7% for 30 years, and that alone becomes about $380,000. Together, that's over $2 million. Now, yes, the home may appreciate. Historically, real estate might grow around 3 to 4% annually long term. A $500,000 home appreciating at 3.5% annually for 30 years becomes about $1.4 million. But remember, you paid interest. At 7% over 30 years, total interest on a $450,000 loan can exceed $600,000. So your total cash outlay for that home could approach $1.5 million over time, not including taxes and maintenance. Suddenly, the comparison becomes less obvious. This isn't an argument against home ownership, it's an argument against blind ownership. The math forces you to ask better questions. Are you buying the house for stability, for lifestyle, for school districts, for emotional security, or are you buying it because you think you're supposed to? There's a shift here. Affordability isn't about whether you can make the payment, it's about whether the payment allows you to continue building wealth. The principle is simple. Your house should not consume the oxygen your investments need to grow. If after buying the house, you can still max out retirement accounts, build emergency savings, invest consistently, and sleep at night, you can probably afford it. If buying the house means pausing retirement contributions, carrying high stress, and hoping for raises to bail you out, the house owns you, not the other way around. So here's a mental rule. If you can't comfortably save at least 15 to 20% of your income after purchasing the home is too expensive, not emotionally, mathematically. Now imagine two futures. In future A, you stretch. You buy the $500,000 house on $100,000 of income. The bank approves you. You feel proud. The first year feels exciting. Then the AC fails. Insurance rises, property taxes adjust, your car needs replacing. You reduce retirement contributions just for a while. Vacations shrink, stress increases. You build equity slowly, yes, but liquidity disappears. Your net worth is tied up in walls. You become house rich, cash poor. Years pass, promotions help maybe, or maybe they don't. In future B, you step back. You buy a $350,000 home instead, or you rent strategically while investing the difference. You automate investments. You build assets quietly. Your housing cost stays manageable. Your investments compound. Your flexibility increases. By your 40s or 50s, your portfolio starts generating meaningful income, not because you chased status, because you protected margin. In future B, the house fits into your life. In future A, your life fits into the house. And here's the twist. The people who can truly afford a $500,000 house in 2026 without strain, they either earn well above $160,000 household income, or they bring significant equity from a previous home, or they have large cash reserves. They don't feel the payment, they absorb it. That's the difference. When you're staring at that listing late at night, what you're really asking isn't, can I get approved? You're asking, what kind of future am I buying? The silence at the kitchen table feels heavy because you sense it. This decision compounds, not just financially, emotionally. If you found this uncomfortable, that's good. It means you're thinking beyond surface level advice. Homeownership can be powerful. It can anchor families. It can create stability. It can build wealth over decades, but only when it aligns with your numbers, not someone else's highlight reel. The math in 2026 is not forgiving. Interest rates amplify mistakes. High prices compress margins. Small miscalculations turn into long term constraints. So when you see that $500,000 number glowing on your screen again, don't just ask if you can afford the monthly payment. Ask if you can afford the opportunity cost. Ask if you can afford the stress. Ask if you can afford to slow your wealth building machine. And if the answer is yes, truly yes, then move forward confidently. But if the answer is shaky, wait, build, strengthen your position. Because wealth isn't about proving you can buy something, it's about knowing you don't have to. And maybe, just maybe, the most powerful financial move in 2026 isn't stretching into the biggest house you can qualify for. It's building a life where the numbers work so well that the house becomes a detail. If this changed how you see money and how you see that late night mortgage calculator session, subscribe for more conversations like this. Because the system isn't getting simpler, but you can get smarter inside it.